Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 17th, 2016 City Council meeting. Could I please have Jim Garrison from the Los Banos United Methodist Church come forward for the opening prayer?
And let us pray. O Lord our God, in this season of Lent, where we remember our limitations as the clouds roll by, and Lord, we thank you for the rain that we've received this year, and we acknowledge that we can't make it rain more or less, even though that's very important to us. But Lord, there are some things that we can do. There's things that decisions that can be made by the people in this room that will affect the lives of this community, the quality of life and the health and the safety and the prosperity of our businesses. And Lord, we again acknowledge our human limitations, that none of us is wise enough to foresee all the consequences of the decisions we make. And so we ask for your help. We thank you for each person, for each of our elected leaders and city staff. We thank you for concerned citizens and ideas and proposals brought forward. And Lord, we ask for your wisdom that goes beyond our own wisdom, that the good decisions would be made and that our leaders would be able to rise above self-interest, rise above the desire to be right and to win an argument, would rise above anything that would keep us from making the best decisions for all. And so we thank you for this time and we ask for your help. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim. I'd like to call to order the February 17, 2016 meeting of the Los Banos City Council. And Chief Reyna, would you lead us in flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Director Melanie.
Faria. Here. Lewis. Silvera. Present. Stonegrove. Here. Vilalta.
Here. We have a quorum. Item number 4, consideration of approval of agenda. Do I have a motion? Mr. Silvera.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Mr. Faria.
Second.
Motion by Silvera, second by Faria to approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None. Carried. Item number 5. Presentation, proclamation recognizing Deolinda Brazil, secondary principal of the year from the Association of California School Administrators. Okay, Dale, come on up. We just had to about lie to get her here tonight. She's really a shy person, but I'll tell you, she is just a wonderful teacher and administrator. She started out as a math teacher at the junior high school and is an absolutely wonderful person, has been my friend for many, many years. And I can't thank her enough for making Los Banos her home and continuing to be a teacher and now principal of the junior high school here. And tonight we're here to recognize. Some years very many years go by and you don't have anyone selected from one city as a administrator of a year. This year we've had 2 people. 2 weeks ago we honored Pat Atkins, who is the human resource director, human resource assistant superintendent, and tonight we have the principal of the year here from the California School Secondary Administrators. Proclamation recognizing Deo Brazil Thorson, secondary principal of the year. Whereas in 1995, Deo Brazil Thorson received her bachelor's degree in communications with a minor in business from CSU Stanislaus. Deo began her career at the old Los Banos Junior High School site in 1998 as a keyboarding and computer teacher. And whereas in 1999, Deo transferred to the current Los Banos Junior High School site and taught math until 2004. During this time, she also obtained her teaching credential from Chapman University. After teaching math for 5 years and serving as math department chairman for 3 years, In 2004, Dio became an administrative assistant counselor, and 1 year later, in 2005, Dio received her administrative credential from CSU Stanislaus and became assistant principal at the junior high school. After 6 years of being assistant principal, Dio Brazil Thorson became principal of Los Banos Junior High School. Throughout her career with the Los Banos Unified School District, Dio has dedicated herself to both teaching and administration and is currently serving her 18th year. Dio received the honor of being named Secondary Principal of the Year for 2015-2016 by the School Association of California School Administrators. And it is with great honor, great appreciation, knowing the job that you've done for many years and knowing that job so well. I am just thoroughly pleased to hand you this document and honor you once again for your accomplishments in Los Banos and your future accomplishments, because I know there are going to be many. Thank you so much. I hired her too. Okay. Let's go on to item 6, public forum. Members of the public may address the city council members on any item within the interest, any item of public interest that is within the jurisdiction of the city council, which includes agenda and non-agenda items. No action will be taken on non-agenda items. Speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation. Detailed guidelines are posted on the council chamber informational table. Please state your name and city of residence when you approach the podium. And if you have a cell phone, please place them on vibrate or turn them off. Is there anyone who'd like to speak at the public forum?
Good evening, Bertha Faria, Los Banos Chamber of Commerce. It's hard to believe we are already halfway through February, and the chamber calendar is quickly filling up and looks as though 2016 will speed right by. Today at our Board of Directors meeting, Congressman Jim Costa stopped by to update us on items that concern our valley, which included water, transportation, and trade. The chamber appreciated him taking the time to speak with us and answer our questions. We've gained 4 new members at our chamber and are happy to welcome LB Hotel Red Roof Inn, Paraiso Brewery, It Works with Stephanie Kobos, and Golden Valley Health Center. Tomorrow, our local VFW has arranged for veteran counseling at the American Legion Hall. These services are provided free of charge to eligible veterans on the first and third Thursday of each month. Los Banos Outreach Center hours are 8:30 to 2 p.m., and appointments can be made by calling 559-487-5660. Our Golden Agers will be holding their February dinner tomorrow, and that is held at the Community Center, and España's pork loin is on the menu. On February 24th, the Los Banos Chamber, in partnership with Merced College's Career Advancement Academy, will host a customer service seminar in the España's banquet room beginning at noon. Jonay Pistoresi, professor of business at Merced College, will lead this engaging seminar that will leave you with several tangible tips on how you can better serve your customers and coworkers. This seminar is free to attend, and a buffet lunch will be available for $12.99. Please call the chamber by this Friday, the 19th, to reserve your seat. We will welcome Habitat for Humanity at their new location at 1209 6th Street with a ribbon cutting on Thursday, February 25th at 5:30. Habitat will also be our host for the February mixer, which will follow the ribbon cutting. We are busy working on our 2016 Spring Street Fair and have booked 15 vendors and 1 food vendor for the April 9th event. Applications to participate as a vendor are available on our website at losbanos.com or by calling our office at 826-2495. We are looking forward to welcoming spring in downtown Los Banos with this popular event. Thank you.
And the vet counseling is going to be held where?
At the American Legion Hall.
American Legion Hall, okay.
Hi, my name is Shirley Rose from Los Banos. I come to ask this group if there's any way, especially you, Mr. Breezy, who wrote the rules and the laws of this town, and why aren't they followed? I should inform you right now, the gentleman that I've been having trouble with has moved out of our neighborhood. And the one that put the restraining order on an 80-year-old woman just beat the crap out of his wife 2 times. But that was all right. Now, I'm asking you, what can be done about these rules and regulations nobody wants to follow? If I opened up a shop in my home with no license, I'm sure, and I'm getting tired of this. Oh, it takes time. How much time does it take? This man has broke every law, every rule in our neighborhood that could possibly be. And the sad part is the police department helped him. Now, according to the little note that he wrote to the court, Sergeant Sejas and Steve Precy is the one that said, get a restraining order on the old lady. Well, he got it. But he kept coming by my house, giving me dirty gestures, calling me a hunky bitch. But I couldn't do anything because I was the old lady that had the restraining order. Now, come on, guys. Are we going to follow the laws or what are we going to do? Now, if it was in your neighborhood, you wouldn't put up with it either. And I know, Mike, I can go down the line here and you guys think I'm senile. But you called because you didn't like the hospital running the airport or the little old air conditioner. You forgot I was on the board at the time. Stop and think. It's not me that's senile. But I'd like to know who made these laws. And why aren't they being followed? You've got a committee that's called Code Enforcer. Well, what are they getting paid for? To sit and watch the people around just go down? No, I'm not going down. By all means, I'm not going down. But I want to know where the laws are. What right as a citizen do I have? Can anybody tell me? No, it's one of these things. We'll have to look into it. It takes time. Well, how many times? That man's tormented me for 2 years. And I couldn't do anything about it except get an $8,000 bill from the attorney. But he got everything scot-free. I was told if they kept it up, they would be picked up for harassment. They couldn't harass him anymore. And then I have an eyewitness that's willing to go with me. Shows that the police went into his house and brought a part out to put on the car. Now, I bet you they wouldn't do that for me. Now, no way. Now, what are we going to do, guys? Come on. Can anybody give me an answer if I stay here long enough to hear it this evening? No, I doubt it. And I paid $14 for a book that'll show every law, every code, and everything else you have in this town. Skateboards, bicycles out in the middle of the street. You walk out of a business, they like to knock you down. But that's okay because nobody cares. We got bigger things to handle. Now, I'm going to sit here tonight, and I want somebody to give me some answers if they can. Now, I truly hope somebody in this group can do that. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public forum? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public forum and go on to item 7, consideration of approval of consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be voted on in one motion unless removed from the consent agenda by a city council member. And tonight we have
Items on the consent agenda are as follows. Warrant numbers 157690 through 158017 in the amount of $4,406,675.52. Minutes for the January 6, 2016 City Council meeting. Minutes for the January 20th, 2016 City Council meeting. Minutes for the February 3rd, 2016 City Council meeting. City Council Resolution Number 5726, authorizing submittal of applications for the Cal Recycle Legacy Disposal Site Abatement Partial Grant Program, and authorizing the Public Works Director, City Engineer, to execute all documents necessary to secure and implement approved grant funding. City Council Resolution Number 5727, authorizing the submittal of Cal Recycle application for payment programs and related authorizations, and authorizing the Public Works Director, City Engineer, to execute all documents necessary to implement and secure payment. And the items are to be approved as submitted.
Is there any city council member who would like to remove an item for discussion? Mrs. Lewis.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove item E.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Do I have a motion? Mrs. Lewis?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item E.
Do I have a second? Mrs. Stonegrove?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Lewis to approve the consent agenda as stated, minus item E for discussion, and seconded by Mrs. Stonegrove. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Mrs. Lewis?
Thank you. I probably will be directing my question to Mr. Fajan, our Public Works Director. In regards to this recycle grant, it indicates in the body of the presentation that there's an effort for this grant to be used to aid in the increase of beverage container collections and to reduce beverage container litter in our water stream system. Did I pull the right one?
No.
That's number F.
Okay, then I need to go back and can
Pulled item.
I pulled the wrong item.
Oh, you pulled the wrong item. Oh, okay. Well, I can we just go back and
You know what? It's
What is the question, or is it changing your vote in any way?
go ahead.
I'll just rescind it, and I'll talk to the Public Director, Works Director myself. But for me, I thought it was information that would be good for the public to hear, so, and also to make clarifications for myself. So if it's too late to rescind it, then I'll just take it up with him.
I think you could still do that after you vote on E. You could ask your questions about F after that.
So why don't we do this? Let's vote on the one on item E, okay? If that's all right.
That's
and
fine.
then I'll allow you to then ask questions in reference to the other one. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right. Mrs. Lewis?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve item E of the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Mr. Freya?
Second.
Motion by Lewis, second by Faria to approve item E only. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Mrs. Lewis, go ahead.
Now, is this a motion to pull F?
No.
Okay.
Just
So
ask
go ahead.
just ask
Okay,
your questions.
Thank you. And forgive me for my error on this. Basically, what I wanted to find out is these recyclables that are collected, where do they go once they're collected?
The recyclables is the grant. The money is actually used for a part-time person to pick up recyclables in our park. It actually pays for someone to help clean up our parks. That's what this money goes for. And they collect that and they recycle it, and it goes into our solid waste fund.
Okay, so once the recyclables are collected, there is a redemption that we receive for that for the monies that go back?
A small one, yes.
Okay. That's what I want to know. I didn't know if we received money back for the recyclables that we collected?
No.
Or if they just...
This is a statewide program based on that 5 cents per can that you pay. This is what this,
I understand that.
And then we get $5,000 to $10,000 a year, and we put it towards part-time help to pick up litter and some recyclables. It's both.
Okay. The question that I have that I'm still not clear on is, once you collect the recyclables, do you redeem them and get money for them? Or do you just give them to a recycling company?
As far as I know, we recycle them and it goes into our solid waste fund,
Okay.
solid waste enterprise fund.
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Any
Mayor.
other questions, Ms. Lewis?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to item number 8, public hearing. If you challenge the proposed action as described herein in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described herein or in written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. Item 8A, public hearing. To receive public comment and consideration of a conditional use permit to allow the use of a Type 23 alcohol license for a small beer manufacturing on-site tasting room, Paraiso Brewery, okay, located at 80 West G Street, Assessor's Parcel Number 081-190-008. Item 8A1, City Council Resolution Number 5728, approving a conditional use permit 2016-01 to allow an on and off sale of beer in conjunction with a Type 23 alcohol license for Paraiso Brewery located at 80 West G Street, Suite C. And let's go to Senior Planner Elms for a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. So the proposal that we have here before you tonight is a request for a Type 23 alcohol license, and this is for a small beer manufacturer. This would be the first type of license that we would have if the council allows in the city of Los Banos. The request is for the on and off sale of the microbrewery's own beer. So this is their own manufactured beer on site. No other types of beer would be sold on the premises. And I do want to point out to you, at least that you would take notice that this is not similar to the Walmart license, which is a Type 86 that the City Council approved about a month ago. This is a completely type of different license. This does go with the microbrewery, and it's not for instructional tasting. So through the staff report, when it describes the use as sampling, it's sampling the different beers, but it's not limited to just the 8 ounces of beer as Walmart was required to follow. This license has its own restrictions by ABC, but it's not for instructional tasting. So these tasting rooms are also known as tap rooms, and I just want to make that clear for you tonight. So the facility will consist of a tasting room where people can sample Paraiso Brewery's beers as well as purchase their own for off sale. And the proposed business would be opened Thursday through Sunday. The location of the property is at 80 West G Street, Suite C, and it's highlighted for you on this aerial. This property is located within the Hacienda Business Park, and it is in the industrial zoning district. Now, microbreweries are a use by right in the industrial zoning district, so the use of the brewery is not what is before you tonight, but the on and off sale of alcohol is what is being questioned tonight, or asking for permission tonight. So according to CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, this project is categorically exempt per Article 19, Section 15301, in that it is an existing facility and no changes are being requested at this time or being expanded of the existing facility. According to our municipal code, there are general criteria that need to be met, and these are findings that are required prior to any conditional use permit being approved. And the council would need to make the findings that the project is consistent with our general plan and our municipal code, that it is consistent with the neighborhood, and it would not be a nuisance or detrimental to the public health, safety, morals, comfort, and general welfare. And then the last one is that it's compatible with the adjacent uses and properties in neighborhood. Then our municipal code goes on to require 4 specific findings when a conditional use permit has alcohol. And those findings are, 1, that the proposal will not contribute to undue proliferation of such uses in an area where additional ones would be undesirable or considered given to the area's function and characters
problems of crime and loitering and traffic problems and capacity. And this particular finding, staff is asking that the city council consider that there are no other breweries in the city of Los Banos, and Paraiso Brewery will conduct their business in accordance with ABC regulations, and will implement security measures to combat crime and loitering. And there's actually conditions of approval within the project that require those specific restrictions. And the proposed use is not anticipated to generate significant traffic, and the general industrial zoning district is the only land use which allows for breweries. So this location is really the only appropriate location for a brewery. And the on-sale and off-sale of distilled beer for the brewery will be secondary to the primary use as the small beer manufacturer. The second finding is that it will not adversely affect adjacent or nearby churches, temples, or synagogues, public parochial or private elementary, junior high or high schools, public parks or recreation centers, or public or parochial playgrounds. And the finding here is that there's no such uses in the immediate vicinity. And then the third finding is that the proposal will not interfere with the movement of people along important pedestrian streets. And the finding here is that the sampling of alcohol will only be allowed inside the premises, and the use will be regulated by the city, state, and federal regulations. And the purpose of this requested use is to benefit customers and will not interfere with the movement of people along an important pedestrian street. And then the last finding is that if it is in close proximity to residential uses, and especially to bedroom windows, that it would be limited in its hours of operation between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. And as staff is asking that council make the finding that it is not in close proximity to any residential uses, and the operational statement states that the brewery will not be open between 10 a.m. and it will close by 10 p.m. Also, I do want to point out that there is a condition of approval that requires the serving of alcohol to stop by 9 p.m. That way there's an hour before the business closes. So this is the location of 80 West G Street, Suite C. This is 80 West G and Suites A through E, I believe. So it's just within the Hacienda Business Park. There's multiple uses within this business park. We have IEM, which is an LED light bulb manufacturer. There is DaVita Dialysis. There's a MMA gym there. Merced County Mental Health is there. Fastenal just moved into this business park. And Windecker Inc. does also have an office next door to this particular location. This is straight on looking at the Suite C. So the Planning Commission did review this item, and this was on January 27th, and they did recommend approval to the City Council. Public comment. This item was published in the Los Banos Enterprise on February 5th and mailed out to the 300-foot radius. And as of today's date, no comments have been received. Also, there were no comments at the Planning Commission meeting. So with that, staff is recommending that the City Council adopt resolution number 5728, approving conditional use permit number 2016-01 for Paraiso Brewery, located at 80 West G Street, Suite C. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to answer any of your questions as well as the applicant.
Okay, staff, do you have any, or not staff, council, do you have any questions at this time? Mrs. Lewis.
Thank you. This question may be for Stacy or the applicant. You said that ABC regulated how much alcohol is distributed or allowed to be tasted in the tasting room. Do you have any idea what that is?
No, ABC only regulates on instructional tasting like Walmart, and so that was only the 8 ounces. Okay. They are required to stop serving if somebody looks like they're drunk or is at a level that they should not be drinking anymore. Also, there's a condition of approval that requires that the applicant and anybody serving beer take a class that's provided by ABC to be able to recognize that, recognize fake IDs, and be able to regulate those types of restrictions.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Okay, let's go to the public hearing. I will now open the public hearing on City Council Resolution number 5728. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public hearing, bring it back to council level. And any comments from council? Mrs. Rivera?
Mr. Mayor, I will be supporting this approval tonight, and I just want to say that I think that it's a good thing. I think that Las Banos is growing in some unique ways. I know, just listening to the success of, I know they're maybe a competitor of yours, but Dust Bowl Brewery started out as a little brewery, and I've seen the articles, and I happen to know the family on what they're doing in the Turlock area. And I think that's where we find these little niche markets. I know that you go around to different places, and it's become quite popular. So I'm glad that you guys found a way to try to be able to get it open here in Las Banos. I think it just adds to one more thing. I call it quality of life things. It gives people, my wife and I and friends, we go up to Napa and go wine tasting. Well, sometimes you're looking for things to do, and this is another opportunity for folks to do stuff locally and keep our dollars locally. So I will be supporting it, and I want to wish you guys the best of luck in your new endeavor. If there are no other comments.
Mr. Stonegrove, do you have a comment?
Well, no, I guess I had a question, but it was just kind of out of curiosity. I wanted to thank the applicant for being here tonight, and I agree with Councilmember Silvera's comments. It's nice to see a business coming into town that we don't have, something to add to our community. And I noticed the hours of operation Thursday through Sunday. If your business grows and as it expands, do you have future plans to extend the hours of operation?
Oh, why don't you come on up, and we'll just let you speak at the podium if you'd like.
My name is Jesse De La Paz. I'm the actual brewmaster. This is my business partner.
Hector Garibay. Well, to answer your question, if it did show, I mean, obviously we would have to go through the channels to see if it would be a possibility for us. If not, we're content with the hours that we would be allowed to operate as of right now.
Okay, very good.
What's going to be your initial output, your brew batch?
Right now we're working with the 4-barrel system, which is about 100 gallons at a time.
Okay.
So it just varies. We'll probably try to have about 5 different types of beers at one time. So that's what we're working with right now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Freya, do you have a question?
Second echo, glad to see you opening. Beer tasting is a very fashionable thing right now. Maybe more fashionable than wine tasting. It's gotten very cool. And I'm glad to see it. Glad to see you coming here and opening up over there, and looking forward to coming over and trying your product.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything you'd like to say? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll go back to Mr. Silvera.
One more quick comment, and then I'll make my motion. Is I hope that it is successful, and then that you guys are coming back to us or going through the proper channels to hopefully extend your days of operation. So I wish you the best of luck. And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt City Council Resolution number 5728, approving conditional use permit number 2016-1 to allow the on and off sale of beer in conjunction with a Type 23 alcohol license for Parazio Brewery located at 80 West G Street, Suite C.
Mrs. Stonegrove?
Second.
Motion by Silvera, second by Stonegrove to approve City Council Resolution number 5728 is read by title. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None. Carried. Okay. Let's go on to item 9. Merced County Association of Governments, MCAG, Civic Spark presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
My name is Rebecca True. I am a Civic Spark AmeriCorps Fellow with the Local Government Commission, currently serving here with MCAG. And today I'm here to share with you some resources that you can use to really spearhead sustainability initiatives in Los Banos. But first, a little bit of background. I'm not going to go into this too much in detail since I'm sure you're very well aware of the current environmental challenges that we're facing today. But obviously with agriculture being really the backbone of our economy here in the Valley, we're facing an uncertain future with the drought and the changing climate and heightened pollutant levels. So really in moving forward, adaptation is key. State legislation, I'm sure you are all very well versed in this as well. AB 32 commits California to reaching 1990 greenhouse gas emissions levels by 2020, and these reductions are only going to get stricter. The hope is to be 40% below 1990 levels by 2030, and this goes along with a 50% reduction in petroleum use, 50% more renewable energy sources, and doubling the energy efficiency of existing buildings. Sorry, that's covered up a little bit. SB 375 mandates the inclusion of sustainable community strategy in the regional transportation plan. And this really forces us to take current and future emissions into account when planning the future of our cities. And this is really the current political climate that we find ourselves in today. I expect a lot more further reductions coming in the next 10 or 20 years. So this is really the new normal and something that we need to get used to. But I know there's a lot of apprehension in this county about how exactly we're going to be able to meet these goals in this short amount of time. So that's where I come in. As I said before, I'm a Civic Spark AmeriCorps Fellow. AmeriCorps is a federal program that sponsors service projects and social solutions, and they do everything from education to healthcare to natural disaster relief, etc. The Civic Spark program really came about through an initiative by Governor Brown with the Local Government Commission to really help build staff capacity in addressing climate change mitigation and adaptation throughout the state. So this year there are about 48 of us fellows in 9 different regions in California, and we're working on different projects from greenhouse gas inventories and benchmarking to climate action planning to sustainable transportation, energy efficiency, water conservation, etc. My position specifically is working in collaboration here with MCAG and with Merced jurisdictions to ensure that we're able to meet those state goals from the previous slide, and really just to be a free resource to you guys in respect to any kind of research or climate action projects that you'll be doing this year. So going into grant programs, the first one I want to highlight is the Active Transportation Program. Their goal is to increase the usage of active transportation modes for increased public health and safety for all income levels. And this focuses specifically on school children in disadvantaged communities, since those kids are more likely to walk and bike to school and also have less safe roads on which to travel. So by ensuring proper signage, clearly marked crosswalks and protected bike paths, you're really ensuring the safety of community members and encouraging more people to get out of their cars and recreate in those areas. The next grant I want to highlight is CMAQ, which stands for Congestion Mitigation Air Quality. This funding can be put towards any transportation projects or programs that help to improve air quality and traffic congestion. This is an example of a project that CMAQ could fund. This is the G Street Underpass in Merced. That's a railroad track up above on the bridge there. And so instead of having to stop and wait for the trains to go by, cars can just bypass the trains, and that's really helped to improve traffic flow and reduce idling. CMAQ projects can also go towards bike and pedestrian infrastructure. So as you can see, there's bike paths on either side of the street and also a protected pedestrian path. And so all these elements together really help to improve air quality and traffic congestion. PACE is another great program. I know Los Banos is already a part of HERO, which is awesome. But it stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. And if you think about it, if you are a property owner in a non-PACE city and you want to make your house or your business more energy efficient or conserve more water, you would have to pay for your weather stripping and your clean energy sources and your sink aerators all by yourself out of pocket. But if your city does sponsor a PACE program like Los Banos, then the city offers the property owner a tax, or a loan, sorry, and the property owner then pays the city back as a line item on the property tax bill over a period of 10 to 20 years. And that stays with the property. So even if the property is sold or whatever, whoever is benefiting from those retrofits is responsible for paying the city back. And it's a really great program, just since, yes, it is a higher property tax bill, but these property owners are also benefiting from lower energy bills and lower water bills, and so that offsets the cost, and there really isn't much financial risk to participate in that program. CAL FIRE also offers an urban forestry program for tree planting projects, mapping, forest management, and green infrastructure. And trees have so many benefits, I couldn't even list them all here. They provide a cooling microclimate to really help offset the urban heat island effect. They can shade homes for energy conservation. They can shelter streets from the hot sun and the elements to really help slow the deterioration of streets. They filter the air, they filter the water, they improve soil quality, they store carbon to already offset any emissions you're currently creating. They increase property values by providing a nice green aesthetic. And they fight crime. It's correlated with a lot of low crime areas. That link, especially if you click on it, takes you to a case study out of Philadelphia where they filled in vacant lots with trees and greenery. And before then, the lots had a lot of high crime and areas like that. But once the trees went in, people really wanted to keep that up and make it nice and really take pride in their community. So I say trees are multitasking superheroes and are a really inexpensive way to take advantage of their cooling effect, improving air quality, and for community revitalization projects. Now, I know staff capacity is still a really big issue in these parts. I've been doing a lot of work at Sustainable Energy Roadmap, which is an initiative available at no cost to Valley jurisdictions. Basically, they walk you through any kind of climate action goal setting and the whole process of a plan and best practices and implementation. So there are 4 categories: land use, transportation, energy, and water. And basically all you have to do to participate in this program is fill out a benchmarking survey, which is where you go through a list of different expert recommended high impact goals that they feel will really help to benefit your community. And you can say, this is something I want to do, this is something I don't want to do, this is something I want to do but might need help with. And then once that's filled out, it requires approximately 60 hours of staff time, so it's not terribly time consuming. And once that's filled out, they hold your hand and walk you through the entire process. So choosing which goals to pursue, implementing those goals, assessment, reassessment, any kind of training or support you need in the implementation and also in moving forward. They have a very extensive resource library filled with case studies from across the nation, as well as different templates that you can copy for your own use. And it's a really great way to take advantage of what is basically free consulting for you guys. They do also offer a $5,000 stipend to the first 18 jurisdictions that sign up. Last time I talked to them, there was about 12 signed up already, so there's still time to get in on that if you want. And those jurisdictions have used that stipend to either pay for the extra staff time or hire an intern to take this on and paid them with that stipend, so lots of different things you can do with that. And you really put as much time into as you want. Either way, you're going to get a lot of support. I'm also very much available to help you with the benchmarking survey. So the roadmap people were really here to support you guys if you do choose to participate. I am also in the process of developing an internship program for Merced jurisdictions, specifically for climate action projects. I think it's a really great way to encourage the educational development of community members, as well as provide them with local opportunities for their professional development. So if you are interested in taking on an intern at all for any kind of research or leading a project or even connecting it back to the roadmap people, that is fine. Just get in touch with me and we can talk about maybe customizing a framework to fit your entity's needs. And this is my contact information. The URL at the bottom leads to my webpage, but if you can't remember that, you can just go to the MCAG website and you'll see Civic Spark in the sidebar and click on that. I have a whole list of different tools and resources you can use to find information and data, articles of interest, and a whole list of grant programs that are currently available. And I currently update that continuously. So definitely a good page to bookmark if you can. And if you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Okay, are there any questions for Rebecca? Yes, Mrs. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Rebecca, you had a section in your presentation about proposing planting of trees and all the wonderful things that the tree can do for the environment. And in general, any green landscaping contributes to a lot of what you discussed. But my concern is, along with this proposal and what the state is recommending, the state is also recommending some new changes in landscape laws with a lot of drought-tolerant plants, which I'm beginning to see that people are not planting trees more often. They're using, that method of planting. So how do these two interrelate with each other? Because if you're not planting trees because we have a lack of water and the governor wants more drought-tolerant landscape, the trees and the greenery mitigate some of the issues that we have with air pollution. So how does this all work out?
I'm not exactly sure of that. It is a grant program. I think they do try to go with more native species, like they shouldn't plant redwoods because those are water suckers, but definitely trying to play with those issues and try to find the best fit for you. It's more besides just having tree planting, there's also tree mapping and inventory, and they can also see like where the best areas to put those trees and where can they best find where there's going to be a less impact environmentally. So
okay, because again, I'm hearing you say that they preserve our streets and a whole myriad of other things. So I guess with all these new regulations coming down from the state on municipalities and other government agencies, it makes it really hard to produce the things that are going to make a comfortable and healthy environment. And none of us can produce water. That comes from another source that none of us have control of. But I do have great concern about these regulations coming down upon the cities to produce these type of things. But a lot of what is happening to us are mechanical things through vehicles and cars, but the natural things that will automatically take care of some of these issues that we have, I struggle with it when I hear these type of dichotomies. So that's my big concern, and I hope maybe you can come up with an answer from the state for us in regards to this, because I struggle with it.
I'm not from the state, but I agree it is very hard, and I'm here to help.
Yeah.
So
and I'm not saying you're from the state,
yeah,
but you're kind of an agent representing some of the things that the state wants municipalities to do. So if in your preparation of working with city governments, if you can perhaps have more information to disseminate to us as to how these things are all going to work together, I certainly would appreciate that. And thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Not too much, just one more little dilemma to add to your collection.
Okay.
And that's the planting of trees, which I'm a big tree guy. I got over 30 trees in my yard. And the promotion of solar-powered houses, which don't go well together. So just another dilemma to add to your collection as you go asking questions through the process.
Definitely check out Google Sunroof. They have, if you can type in your address, and that's a different thing completely. But
solar power would do no good in my house.
Okay.
I wouldn't. Thanks.
And please don't take any of these comments as being negative, but I have to tell you that the state has a lot of great opportunity, a lot of great goals with no opportunities. And these are called unfunded mandates. Everyone wants something, but no one's willing to pay for it. And most of it is put back on the shoulders of our citizens, the burden of our citizens. And it's basically called an unfunded mandate. And we want to try and help as much as we can, but I will tell you, as far as traffic mitigation, the California Transportation Commission just cut out $765 million, more than $750 million out of road repair and enhancement. And so, because cars are more fuel efficient and they don't have the gas tax money. So with some of the things that we're trying to achieve, clean air is fantastic. We'd all love to achieve that. We'd love to achieve signalization through our town, but Caltrans wants to put a barrier all the way down the middle of town, and that's not what we want. So there are many diametrically opposed issues that we would like to have happen, but other people would not like to have happen. So that's just going to be a struggle for you, and it's going to be a learning process to know that the state wants this done, but how we're going to achieve it when there's no money, and placing the burden back on our citizens, because then the citizens start to say, no, we're not going to, we pay our taxes and we're not going to pay for all this. So we have water quality issues here. We have, because of the State Water Resources Board, we have to fix a problem that was not a problem the night before. And that fix could be anywhere from $35 million to $70 million with $3 million a year in filters. So we all want to achieve these things. Los Banos is saying we're not fighting anything. What we're doing is how do we do it and how do we accomplish it? And that's going to be Los Banos' attitude. It says, so when these things come up, we're looking to you, and even though you're not from this state, it's okay. You can assimilate, and you can help us in any way that you can to achieve some of the goals that our community and any other community in Merced County would like to help fix, and what we need to fix, because we're surely on board to do that. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on to item 10, consideration of approval of City Council Resolution number 5729, adopting the revised budget for the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget as it pertains to expenditures associated with the mid-year budget review. And we'll go to Finance Director Williams, who's running back to her chair. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Tonight we're going to review the mid-year budget. We'll be going from July through December with a couple exceptions where it has to do with revenues that we actually received in January, February, but to get a fair picture, I wanted to add those in there. So the mid-year budget allows the council to take a detailed look at where we are and allows the staff to true up any budget items or accounts that might be over or underperforming. Tonight we're primarily going to focus on the general fund and talk about the adjustments that are recommended. And then we will also review the status of all the other funds as well as Measure P and K and review any requested adjustments. Beginning with, can we see that okay? It still didn't come out too good. Beginning with the general fund revenues, sales tax revenues are collected on a monthly basis. However, we are generally behind schedule collecting them, so that's why we're at 27%. We have received payments through October, so we are right on track with the budgeted numbers, and we don't expect any increase to the sales tax revenues for this year. The same goes with property tax, and as you can see the little star noted there, we did receive the property tax in January. We have received $1.7 million, which is about 59% of what was expected, and we are not expecting that to increase too high. We should get the other half of that in May, usually May. Property tax in lieu also was received in February. We're right on track with that, and the in lieu for sales tax was received in February. We're at 94%. We usually get that in a one lump sum payment, but we are expecting a true-up which will put us at 100% or hopefully above. The franchise fees, those are collected a little bit different. We do receive Comcast fees and Pacific Bell fees on a quarterly basis. However, PG&E pays annually in April, and that's why we're only at 14% collected thus far. However, we are on track to collect the whole amount. The TOT tax, that's a 10% tax rate of the hotel lodging fee, and those are also collected on a quarterly basis, and the 38% represents the first quarter collection. So as you can see from these taxes and fees so far, we are right on track. And I do have a lot of information to go over, so if you guys have any questions, please stop me at that point. Please feel free to interrupt. Moving on to business licenses, we're at 39%. Business licenses are not consistent and are collected on the month the person comes to sign up. Usually our biggest collection is in December, or our biggest billing is in December, with the collection being in January, so 39% is not a bad place to be. Permits are required to build, alter, repair, or demolish any structures. Some of the revenues this year, as you can see, we're at 120%, which is outstanding. Some of the revenues include Vineyards and Villages 2A, Solar City permits being pulled, and Regency Park Estates. For the time frame of July through December, 70 permits have been pulled, and since December to today, additional 20 have been pulled. So far for the fiscal year, we've seen 90 permits being pulled. And so that is one of the requests that we're asking, is to increase the revenue account, one, to true it up, and for any other anticipated projections that we see, we're asking for a $175,000 increase. Documentary stamps are transfers for property increases in property sales, so we see a slight increase there. And then the other revenue category is just a mix of everything. It's a lot of little bicycle fees, prisoner care, admin citations, a whole variety of things. Strike team reimbursements go in there. And as you can see, that's at 67%, and we are asking for increases there as well, which we'll go over in a few slides. So basically, the total sum for the budget, we project at $12.4 million, and we've collected $6.1 million, so we're at 49%. That looks really good for us. To be at mid-year, we're right on track. Moving on to the expenditures, these are just the general fund expenditures, and they are broken down by department. So looking at the administrative expenditures, we are on track at 46%. The only one that's a little bit high is the building expenditures, and that goes with permits being pulled. So as the revenues increase for permits, then we also pay CSG, and so you'll see the money go out for that. They get 65% of the permits that are collected. So we'll be asking for an increase in expenditures in that category as well. Everything else, engineering, code enforcement, is right on track, as well as recreation, maintenance, and the community center. Looking at the transfers out, which is what we pay for anything that the CFD funds can't cover, or the SLEF fund. SLEF fund is a COPS grant. We get $100,000 every year. We do have one officer paid out of there. If these funds cannot cover it, then the general fund makes up for it. And we did budget $108,000. We are expecting that to go over, so we will be asking for an adjustment, which we'll bring up here in a moment. But it is basically due to overtime and benefit increases. The contingency fund, which is reserved for unexpected expenses, has incurred very few expenditures throughout the year, which is great. And overall,
Sonia?
Yes.
Really quick. On the contingency fund, how did we come up with the number of 41,819?
So that's a good question. Generally, we actually budgeted $50,000, but what happened was we had an emergency repair here, and our auditors don't like to see capital coming out of a contingency fund. So we did an in-house budget adjustment and moved the capital, or the contingency, up to maintenance. And so that's why it's an odd number this year.
Thank you.
Again, total expenditures, we're budgeted at $12.2 million. We have expended $5.8 million. We're at 47%. And the adjustments that we're asking for tonight, we're asking to increase revenues by $478,000 in the general fund alone. The main three contributors for this are the strike team reimbursement, which is $106,000, the increase to permits, which is $175,000, and then we have an increase to admin citations for, I believe, over $40,000. A lot of this has to do with the water citations that we've been writing and other admin citations that we just didn't budget for. And so the overall increase is $478,963. The other adjustments that you see here are all for expenditures. The administration, we're asking to increase the budget by $14,235. A portion of that has to do with the city manager recruitment to pay the recruiter. That amount is, where did I write that down? What's the total amount for that? Do you remember? $9,800. That affects the general fund.
But
And
right now, we have a savings of about $12,000 a month.
we do have a savings, but because of the way that things are paid out of, the savings not in administration, and because we reclassed the interim
Correct.
city manager to hit those funds, so we are not going to see the savings there. Where we're going to see the savings is in the police department.
Right, you're going to see deficit spending
Yes.
one, but then you're going to
Yes,
see
but-
increased savings someplace else.
But in-house, we do not have the authority to move the money from one budget to the
Correct.
other. We can only move within the department, so that's why we're asking for the increases here
But
tonight.
the money's there.
The money's there.
Okay, that's all,
correct.
okay, all right, you show me the money, that's
Yes,
all I want to
the money is there, but we can't increase it without your permission.
Correct.
In
Got
the
it.
right department.
Got it.
Police, we are looking tonight, as we've talked about in the past, we continue to review the possibility of moving employees out of the Measure K fund, even though it still says A, back into the general fund. We're asking tonight that we do that again with another police officer. The costs associated with that are $136,000, which is a big plus for us that we're able to do that. That will leave one police officer and one fire captain in Measure K. Fire, we are asking to increase by $55,200. This is for expenses related to the strike team fires, mainly overtime, and then also other expenses related to salaries and benefits. If you remember, we did the MOUs for a 3-year deal with the fire bargaining group, and then also our benefits increased some as much as 20%. And then in building, we're asking for $175,000 to increase in expenditures. This is mainly for CSG contracts, and again, this will offset the revenue increase in permits. And then finally, we'll be increasing transfers out, and this again is for overtime related to SLEF and CFDs. So our total increase to expenditures is $461,059. When we began the budget year, we anticipated to have a surplus of approximately $300,000. With these increases to both revenues and expenditures, our surplus will be approximately $279,000. So we're still functioning in the black, which is positive for the city. Does anybody have questions about the general fund adjustments?
Yes.
So on the increased revenue side, and then the expenses out on fire, that's to pay back the funds that, can you explain that a little bit more to me, exactly where that money's, where it's coming from and where it's going?
If you look at Exhibit A, there are a couple different increases to revenue and increases to expenditure. Just speaking on the general fund, we're increasing the general fund by $106,321. And then you'll see further down, salaries, overtime, benefit increases. And that is, some of it is to offset the strike team costs. In the benefit line, there was also increases to our benefit plan, to our health insurance plan. So it's a little, the expenditures are a little higher than the revenue, and it's not because they're not true to each other. So we have additional expenses in there besides strike team expenses.
Okay.
And then further on in the presentation, and in this Exhibit A, there's also an increase to revenues in Measure K, because if an employee is paid out of a different fund, then those revenues now, Scott, we discussed this last time, are coming back to that fund. So if we send somebody on strike team that's paid out of Measure K, for example, any reimbursement from the state will go back to Measure K. We got that all straightened out, and everything is finally flowing the correct way.
Perfect, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yes.
I'm glad to see that we figured that out. That makes me feel better.
I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So our operating reserve, at the beginning of this fiscal year, our operating reserve was $7.7 million. Now, the operating reserve is the unrestricted fund. So this is what we have available in the general fund to spend. The revenues, including the proposed adjustments tonight, are $12,969,701. The expenditures, including the proposed adjustments, are $12,502,998. And the transfers to CFDs and SLEF are $188,288. This will bring our estimated ending fund balance to a little over $8 million. This is the number that we'll have to work with next year when we're, well, this year, but for next year's budget when we're putting the budget together. So in looking at that, these are the goals that we put together a couple years ago. Our main goal, and I just want to update everybody as to where we were, our top priority was moving people out of Measure K back into the general fund. I'm happy to say at this point, if everything is adopted tonight, that we will only have one position in PD and one position in fire. And as you can see, that cost is a little over $300,000 annually. Our next goal was to reinvest in employees. We did finish a compensation, we performed a compensation study and completed it in 2015. We used that study to come to agreements with 3 of our 4 bargaining groups. We're still in discussions with 1, and we also did give backs to the miscellaneous employees as well. So we hope to continue that on for the following budget year. And then our third priority was to fund any unfunded positions that we had in the budget. We have many unfunded positions, but we have also added positions. So we've added, or either funded or added 7 positions, and those positions were 1 police officer, 1 CSO. We added a dispatch position. We funded a planning position, and we funded 3 different positions in public works. So that's really positive for us that we are taking these strides. So it's one of the things that we'll look at, the 4 positions that we have remaining, and some departments that haven't experienced that yet are HR, they're missing an admin clerk, finance is missing an account clerk, public works is still down a maintenance position, and police are still down an officer position as well. So hopefully it's something that we could look at and maybe fund at least 1 or 2 of those positions in the upcoming budget year.
Are we close to funding or not funding, but adding the other code enforcement officer with the $300,000 grant?
We are currently working on the RFP at this point in time. So once that RFP gets released, I'm not sure what the plan date is for that. We're reviewing it at this point in time, and so hopefully we can get that up and going, hopefully sooner than the end of the fiscal year, but no doubt by the beginning of next year.
So am I assuming then we'll have an additional code enforcement officer before June?
Hopefully, yes. I hope we will have that, and that person will be a contract employee. So you won't see them in these numbers here, but they are still going to be on the street. Yes.
And that's grant money for a $300,000 grant that we received, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So moving along with our goals, some of the things that I thought we would be looking at for our budget discussions in 16-17 and what would essentially spin down the reserve. What I did here was assume, if you look at the percentages on the right, is assume that we were going to do all these things. I didn't, take the time to work out different combinations. So this is just an assumption if we did everything on this list. But if we end the year with an $8 million reserve, then we can add or assign $500,000, and this can go to help purchase the property that we've discussed for hopefully a future police station. That would bring I'm sorry, I didn't make this clear. The $8 million is 63% of where we should be. If you guys remember, you set aside that we only need to be at 30%. Where we are is at 63% by the end of the year. If we set aside $500,000, we'd be at 59%. We have in the past set aside $500,000 to begin our capital improvement plan, and the capital improvement plan essentially goes for all, as far as this number is concerned, all general fund departments. So anybody who needs new buildings, new equipment, new vehicles, our intention is to put together a capital improvement plan. We have $500,000 set aside already for that. I'm hoping to assign another $500,000 for that to give us kind of a head start on replacing equipment, replacing infrastructure, repairing infrastructure, and things of that sort. A third suggestion would be looking at the 2 remaining Measure K employees. The difference on this third item versus the first two is this is an ongoing cost. So I'm only showing it at the rate that we have for the 16-17 numbers at $311,000. That would bring our fund reserve down to 52%. But you do have to remember this cost will increase if we choose to put them back now or in 16-17. That cost will continue to go up. And then the fourth suggestion is to fund some of those unfunded positions. The number that you see here is the initial start step for all 4 positions that I mentioned. Of course, I'm not saying that we're doing that, but this is just to give you an overall idea of what some of our options will be going into the next fiscal year. Doing all 4 of these options, we could even increase some. Maybe we want to set a little bit more aside for capital improvement. Maybe we want to set more aside for the purchase of the land and the associated costs. But if we did all 4 of these at the stated cost, that would bring our reserve down to 50%, which is still a very, very good place to be. That's still 20% above what the council recommended.
But there's still $2.2 million coming in from PAK too a year, correct?
Yeah, but this is just general fund.
Right.
This is just general fund.
But part of the money we're going to use to purchase the land, that will come out of...
What we're hoping to do to purchase the land is to use the money out of the general fund because it's there and it's available.
Yeah.
Freeing up and moving all those police officers out of Measure K is for the bond proceeds. We're hoping to bond out to actually build the police facility, and then we could use the Measure K money to, or actually Measure P at that point, Measure P monies to pay off the bond.
Good.
Okay.
So there is a funding source for the plan that we're talking about.
There is a funding source for the plan. There's always a funding source for the plan.
And that is the money that was approved, the 0.5% sales tax. So it's called PAK, and it brings in about $2.2 million a year from a 0.5% sales tax that the citizens of Los Banos approved years ago. Thank you, Mr. Silvera.
Yeah, just to add on to that, knowing that 2.2 million that comes in a year is split between police and fire. So there's some it's not going to all just go to one or all go to the other. But the one thing I do want to commend staff on is when we went back to the voters and asked them to pass Measure K, one of the things that was very important for me to support doing that is that we were going to, at every opportunity, move employees out of Measure K, which, if you're not familiar with it, Measure K was the part that we passed that allowed us to spend infrastructure money on personnel. And that was originally Measure A, and then we passed Measure K, which continued to allow us. The first part had expired, and it gave us another tool in our toolbox, if you will, that if things get sideways a little bit with the economy, that we still have the ability to do that. But one of the promises that I made to my constituents is that, listen, when we can, we will be moving those employees back. And staff gave me their word that at every opportunity they will, and we're on that road. So I'm very happy with that. I wholeheartedly support the idea of maybe moving both of them back, but we'll see. We'll see what the next few months brings us. But what will happen is once those employees go back into the general fund, in my opinion, then I can look my constituents in the face and I can tell them that now we can have the discussion about expanding our services. Maybe we can have the discussion about hiring more officers and hiring more firemen, because we went to the voters in order to basically use infrastructure money to pay for them, because that's what we needed to do. So I'm excited about that. I thank you guys for holding up your end of the bargain. That was very important to me, and good work. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that fact that we're getting to the point now where those folks are going to go back to where they belong in the general fund, and we can start building up that infrastructure money. We do have a police station that we want to relocate and rebuild, and so for a second here, the old police station, the way it was kind of explained to me is we have a very old police station, and it doesn't pay for us to spend any money into it because we're kind of grandfathered in, if you will, in a lot of what we have there. If we go to start changing anything, it's just going to be a massive amount of money to where it wouldn't be worth, in my opinion, spending that money on that old police station when we should be trying to invest it into a new one. So thank you again.
And Scott's correct. The Measure K is actually set to expire in 2021. So we've been moving the employees out at a rapid pace, which is quite positive because then we could see, one, that the general fund does sustain it and that we are able to start building our departments instead of just sustaining our departments.
So long story short, we're taking the money that was originally intended to go to the places that it was originally approved for fire and police, for building and for employees, and now we're getting back to where the original intent was so many years ago, and that's a good thing.
Okay, so moving on to the Measure P and K adjustments, we are looking to decrease police Measure K by $134,000, and again, that's to move the employee back into the general fund. We are looking to increase the fire revenues by $58,000, and this is the money coming from the state for the strike team reimbursements. And then we are looking to increase the expenditures by $64,000, and this is the offset I was talking about earlier. Some of that increase is for the strike team costs, but then some of it's also for the increases to salaries and benefits outside of what we did with the strike team. That's why it's a little bit higher than the reimbursement. So moving forward, this is a summary of where we were in 14-15 versus where we expect to be in 15-16 for both police and fire, and combining Measure P and K. So the beginning balance this year, I'm going to skip to 15-16, is $1.1 million for police. Our revenues are $1.1 million. And our expenditures are going to drop to $679,000 by moving that police officer out at a cost of $134,000, which will bring us to $1.5 million, which is a really good fund balance, and we're not deficit spending at this point, so that will really help when we're ready to go out for the bonds. Moving on to fire, 2015, we have a fund balance of $539,000. Our revenues are $1.1 million. Our expenditures are $1.1 million, and that will bring our ending fund balance to $500,000. We are deficit spending a little bit here. It does have a lot to do with overtime at this point. Moving on to the landscape and lighting districts, we have 18 districts within the city. 45% of the maintenance fund, or $542,000 of the total budget. 6 districts are operating with a negative fund balance, which is down by 2 from last year. We had 8 at that point. And the positive thing about these deficits are that with the new permits being pulled and the developments being filled in, that we're seeing a lot of those districts drop at their own. I know we've had a lot of discussions about where we're going to be and how we could bail them out. We're actually expecting 5 of the districts to bail themselves out. There's one district that we have a little bit of issues with. It's Talbot Park. There's no development there, and that's something that we'll still have to deal with. But the good news is that with the development going on, we expect 5 others to pull themselves out eventually.
And these are all existing lots, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We're only asking for one budget adjustment for the LLDs, and that's to what district was that? I didn't turn my page, sorry. Oh, do you have that? I didn't write it down. Las Banos Creek? Talk louder. No, what district? District 10, and it's just a small increase to maintenance for $3,700, just to fix up the Ronnie's contract, and so that's positive. We got that all straightened out from last year, and it's a minor increase. And moving on to the enterprise funds. Overall, the enterprise funds are on track. Water expenditures are low because of pending capital outlay projects. Increases in water revenue are due to the connection fees, including the junior high school, and admin sites that were not previously included in the budget.
Mark, this is a question for you, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to throw this out. It just came to me. When we talk about those connection fees, where do those fees go? Is there a breakdown as to where it goes? Does a certain percentage of it go to maintenance operation? Does a certain percentage of it go to like long-term planning? Can you answer that?
They're restricted funds to mitigate any water infrastructure requirements that come in with the new development. So they have to be spent in a capital project that has to do with the new project. And we have Like the other funds, we have unrestricted funds and we have restricted funds. There's very few restricted funds because we haven't been developing lately, but most of it's unrestricted funds at the moment.
Unrestricted?
Like if you have to build a new pump station because of development, and like 60% of it because of new development, that can come out of these development funds that you collect from new homes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to go back to the landscape and lighting districts, that's really encouraging what you said about possibly 5 of the 6 pulling themselves out. And I know you don't have a crystal ball or anything, but I'm assuming that's not going to happen within the next year.
No, I'd have to actually go and see where the permits are being pulled. I haven't done that much detail. We'll look at it a little bit more during the next budget year, but see where the permits are being pulled directly and how it's affecting those funds and see what impact it has at that time.
Okay, and then is that with the assumption too that we would continue to make the increases that we typically do after we pass
Yes.
the budget in the summer?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, wastewater. Again, increases for the water revenue have to do also with connection fees. We did, when we set up the budget, plan to deficit spend, and that was partially for the update to the master plan. We budgeted $410,000, and to date, only $28,000 has been spent. And expenditures, let's see. The expenditures look a little low where it comes to solid waste, but that's only because we did budget for some capital outlay purchases, including the hoofed lift truck, which Mark got at the last council meeting, and a forklift, and those purchases were made after December, so it's not reflected here, and that's why we're only at 36%. But all the enterprise funds, revenues, and expenditures are right on track. The adjustments that we are asking for in the water revenues are $884,000. This is to true up and for any unanticipated revenues, and it includes, again, permits, citations, meters. Water expenditures, the $4,900 that you see there is the city manager recruitment. The city manager is distributed 40% out of the general fund and 20% out of each enterprise fund. And so, again, the mayor's correct, we will see a savings, but this is just to put everything in the right department. Wastewater revenue increase is asked for because of the increase in permits. Expenditures, again, are the city manager. Solid waste revenues is the Cal Recycle grant. We did not budget for that, and so we're just putting the money in here that we're expecting to receive now. And then again, the solid waste expenditures are that 20% of the city manager recruitment.
And again, all these totals is 49, 49, 49. It doesn't exceed the contract amount that we approved.
No, this is exactly the contract amount. It's just, if you take all 4 different split ups, it adds up to the
up to where it belongs.
That's correct.
All right.
The way that the city manager is paid out of and how his salary is distributed.
Okay.
Other adjustments to the different funds, we are asking for an increase to SLUF fund for $22,775 for overtime and benefits. Fire CFDs, an increase by $42,850 for strike team overtime and separate benefit costs. CDBG, we have some costs related with the grant for the code enforcement officer, and so we're increasing the expense so we could start some admin things there by $2,000. And the Stone Creek Park Fund, reimbursement to developers of $153,000, bringing our total other adjustments to $220,000. And so that's all the adjustments that we have tonight that are included in Exhibit A. Some of the upcoming events that I wanted to mention is on March 25th, preliminary date, we'll be having a goal-setting workshop. We'll discuss some of the things that were in the presentation tonight as well as what other departments are doing. On May 31st, it'll be our budget study session here at City Hall. That will begin at 5 p.m. in the council chambers. And on June 15th, the budget will come to this council hopefully for adoption, and that'll be at 7 p.m. at a regular city council meeting. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Mr. Stonegrove, you have a question?
No.
Okay. Mr. Freya.
I'm taking way back in the revenues. our total property tax and our total sales tax. I know our sales tax is greater than our property tax. Correct?
That's correct.
Is that common in the city?
In this city?
I mean, in cities in general.
Oh, that's just too random to answer. It just depends on how the city is. A lot of cities, yes, but I really can't speak on that. Cities I've worked at before, yes. But other than that, I really don't know.
Okay. I'm just curious about that, whether that's a common situation. Or
I think it really just depends on where you live and the property values and what the property values are in a different town versus Las Banos and what their sales tax revenue is or what their sales tax is generally. So
I just think it points out how important commerce is, how important business is, and the activity in this town. How much of our money comes in from all the businesses that are in this town. We have a very large proportion of businesses for the size of the town. We only have 37,000 people, but if you drive down the highway, it looks like a big city. And so sometimes we think we're bigger than we are because of all the big businesses we have here. And I think we have to keep that in mind as we look at, on those numbers, realize how important it is that people bring these businesses tonight. We just have a new brewery coming to town, a new business. We keep encouraging this new business, and we see more and more of it. And people are, and I'm hearing great things, people coming into City Hall telling, the word comes back, says City Hall is very easy to work with. We just come in, we feel very comfortable, everything we need, we get, and we feel like we can get a business started without having to be, run through the ringer. So we appreciate that very much.
And I think the other thing is and I hadn't noticed this before, but the more stores I walk into, the corporations that have invested in the remodeling of the stores, the ones that were tired are not tired anymore. They look brand new, especially Rite Aid if you walk in. The whole store has been revamped. And the revamping they did to Walmart, some of the Kmart or the Circle K's, other things. So they're investing in this community, and that's good. And that's reflective of what's happening here with the budget. So we're looking for even more improvements. And again, this is not still the best of economies, but it's getting there very, very slowly. And the amount of revenue that we've amassed, our city is doing very well through great fiscal responsibility. So, someday I guess we have to ask the question, not tonight, what have we learned since 2008 as a city? And how can we avoid what happened in 2008 forward to make sure that we have consistency and not ever have, and any other city, have what happened to them. So I guess if we knew the answer to that question right now, I guess we could have a complete strategy of how we could manage our budgets forever. But I think that's just going to have to come slowly. Mr. Severa?
Mr. Mayor, if there are no other comments, I'd like to make a motion to adopt City Council Resolution number 5729, adopting a revised budget for the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget as it pertains to expenditures associated with the mid-year budget review.
Mr. Lewis?
Second the motion.
Okay. Motion by Silvera, second by Lewis, to approve resolution number 5729 as read by title. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. We're going to take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll be right back for the last few items. Okay, can I have everyone back up at the council, please? Okay. We're back to council level, and let's go on to item 11, appointment of commission members for the following. Item 11A, Economic Development Advisory Commission, 1 vacancy, 2-year term expiring December 31st, 2017, and Airport Advisory Commission, 1 vacancy, expired for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2016. And appointments to be made by the council. And at this time, okay. Lucy, do we have those? I'm looking here now. Yeah, I'm just looking at the, Haiku Stetchel. Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I had the right names. Okay. For the Economic Development Committee, I'd like to bring forth the name of Brent Jones. And we can do these separately. Okay? Do I have a second? Mr. Faria?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been motioned by the mayor, second by Faria, to bring forth the name of Brent Jones for the Economic Development Advisory Commission, 1 vacancy, 2-year term expiring December 31st, 2017. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? None carried. And let's go on to Airport Advisory Commission. And this is the wife of Annette. Okay, and for the Airport Advisory Commission, I'd like to bring forth the name of Annette Stetchel for 1 vacancy, unexpired, 2-year term expiring December 31st, 2016. That's a motion by the mayor. Mr. Freya?
I'll second that.
Okay. It's a motion by the mayor, second by Mr. Freya to bring Annette Stetchel forward as the Airport Advisory Commission. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Okay, let's go on to item 12. Advisement of public notices, 1 report. And Senior Planner Elms?
So we're pretty excited about this project. It's a conditional use permit for Bases Academy LLC. And what the Planning Commission is going to be considering is to allow the operation of a softball, baseball training facility in the General Industrial Zoning District at 110 West G Street, Suite D, which is also in the Hacienda Business Park. They're going to have batting cages and an academy there for softball and baseball training. And this is a great amenity here in town, but just another reflection of the economy and what's happening and people willing to invest in our community. So the Planning Commission will be considering this item on Wednesday, February 24th, 2016, here in the council chambers at 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Let's go on to City Manager's Report, item 13. Mr. Breezy?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. Good evening. Just one thing to talk about tonight, and it goes back to the budget that many of you have already commented on. When we were in the height of using Measure A and now Measure K to provide for some of our employees so we can keep our staffing levels up, I think our highest year was 6 police officers and 2 firefighters. And we are from 8 down to 2 now. And I know, as Tim and I and Ray and some of the other staff can speak to, when we went to the public and asked for their support for the 14 or so different groups that we went to, this was high on that priority list, if not the highest one, was to get those bodies out as quickly as we can. And to go from 8 to 2 seems like it's happened rather quickly. So we're really proud of that. We've lived up to that obligation, and we're looking forward to the future and getting beyond just where we are now into starting to grow, as I believe one of you had commented earlier. So I want to say thank you to the finance staff for bearing with us all these years, because it's been a tough road for some of us, and I think we're pulling through it. We're getting to some brighter times, and we're really, really looking forward to it. And I can't tell you how happy that I am, and I know Tim will be, when these last bodies are removed from Measure K. So I want to say thank you to finance staff as well. So that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on item 14, city managers, city council member reports, and tonight we'll start with Mr. Silvera.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. First, congratulations to Diolinda Brazil Thorson on her award. I know that she left earlier. It's always nice when one of our local people get honored. And then also, if you guys, this is the grand opening for Habitat for Humanity is Thursday, February 25th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., 1209 6th Street. Also, Ms. Rose, if you can just wait around after the meeting, someone will come over and speak with you, okay? So thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to add as a council member request is I want to, have on the agenda for the next meeting, a discussion to see if there's a majority of council's support to have staff expend some time on talking about the bypass, and if there's a way, some type of forum, whether it's taking it to a vote of our constituents or doing a survey, to find out if the community is truly interested in moving forward with a bypass. And so my reason for this is the bypass is the $400 million elephant in the room. It is very expensive.
500.
and it goes up. It goes every day that we wait. It goes up for more. And so, I guess one of my concerns is that it is such a, for lack of better words, a hog of funds. And so I want to know what the constituents think. What do the people of Las Banas think? I know that there's some business owners along with 52 that are absolutely opposed to it. And I'm here to represent everybody, not only those business owners, but the constituents of my district that aren't business owners that have to deal with the traffic. And so I kind of want to get some marching orders, and I know that there'll be some folks out there that say, well, that's what we elected you to do. I've always been on the record as saying that I think we need a bypass. I don't think that we should have to pay for it. I think that it's the responsibility of the state of California, because last time we checked, it's called California State Highway 152. But at the same time, I also know, the mayor mentioned earlier tonight that the CTC cut funding by millions upon millions of dollars, and if you're not a self-help county, your projects go to the bottom of the list automatically. So I just think that when we talk about regional projects, and I know it's been talked about since the 60s. I told you guys before, my grandpa used to talk about it, when it was going to come in there. So I just want to get it out there and see if there's enough interest of my colleagues up here to, let's get an answer on this deal. And I don't know what that answer is. I just want staff to be able to look into it and come up with some possible solutions. Can you take it to a vote? Can you simply accomplish what I'm asking for by doing a phone survey? I don't know the answer to that, and that's why I want to see that on the agenda so that we can get an answer, because if the answer is yes, then it gives me my marching orders as to what we need to continue to do to try to get that. And if the majority of the people that are surveyed or voted, the majority of the citizens of Las Banas don't want this, then that also gives us marching, because we spend an inordinate amount of time, staff time, money, energy, effort on the bypass. It's something that we talk about quite often. When we talk about any kind of the RTIF of the old days, any of those things, and to top it off, it's been the #1 project in Merced County for quite some time. But it's such a massive project that too many smaller projects come along and the money goes to that first, because they can see their dollars actually go to work to get something done. So I know that was kind of long-winded on my council member request, but if I could ask for that, the city clerk to put that on next month's council meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Stonegrove.
Thank you. Just a couple of announcements this evening. Arbor Day will be held March 4th at the Community Center at 4 p.m. Hope to see everybody there. And the Las Banas Arts Council is hosting a couple of events next month. The first one on Saturday, March 5th. Concerts, Joe Craven, and the tickets are on sale now. And then there's another event sponsored by our local NAACP branch titled 7 Women, 7 Stools. And that will be held on Saturday, March 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Freya.
Don't have too much tonight. Just congratulations to Dio Brazil. I've known her since she was a teenager, and I've worked with her for many years. She's been the principal there at the junior high. And if you go on that campus, you realize she has a very big challenge. It is very crowded, which Creekside Junior High is going to fix that problem. But I've worked on a lot of campuses for a lot of years, and you get a feeling on a campus. And that campus, despite all that crowding, those children still have great attitudes and are very excited about coming to school and working on their projects. I see very little conflict from where I work on the campus, and that has a lot to do with the kind of place she runs, the kind of mood she sets there. It's very positive. It's very it's very encouraging of the children, and I'm very pleased to see her get that award and our opportunity to promote that tonight for her. So once again, congratulations, and I guess everything else has been pretty well covered. Thanks.
Okay. Mrs. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As everything has been covered this evening, I would like to offer my congratulations to Mrs. Brazil for her award. And I don't have any children in the school district, but it's really nice to hear that our administrators and our teachers are receiving these awards, and it shows that the school district is making great strides in hiring good quality people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, just a very important thing that the Veterans Counseling, that happens every month at the American Legion Hall, and maybe we can put that on our television channel to let people know that that's happening. And congratulations to Dio Linda Brazil, just fine person, again, who I've known for many years, and just a wonderful person, teacher, and administrator. One thing I did neglect to tell you, I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Silvera. $765 million was cut out of the California transportation budget because they don't have any money. So not only did they cut established projects out, they cut projects that were funded, and they cut projects that had right-of-way funding. So these projects, even though these people were self-help and they had the money for the project, CTC cut that money out anyway. So what we have is a huge shortage. And by the next meeting, I'll be able to explain a little bit more about what's happening with some of the remedies and what MCAG is proposing. But I will tell you, it is time to have that discussion. And you're going to get two sides of the coin. But I think the people of Los Banos ultimately are looking for, how's this going to get done if it's going to get done? And is there money to do it? And the most important thing that Mr. Silvera mentioned was it's State Highway 152. And it comes right down to it. You pay a lot of gas taxes and road taxes. And then to come back and, again, unfunded mandates, ask the people for more and more and more to fund things. There has to be a ceiling to this, and there has to be a limit. So I'm glad we're going to have that discussion, and I wholeheartedly support that when it comes up. Okay, with that, there will be no closed session this evening in item 15. So do I need to do anything else? Okay, so I would like to adjourn the meeting at 8:51.